let me show you how to properly set up and use your mini portable sewing machine. So if you have a model like this, in this video first I will show you the written manual, and also I will show you how to actually use the machine, how to basically thread up the top of it, bottom, also what to do if it bunches up the thread, if it's not sewing, also how to use all the stitches and how to power it, and yeah, pretty much do everything on it. By the way, also if you are looking to get this machine, in the description I'll include a special discount link that you can use and get it for absolutely insane price. So personally I got mine from AliExpress and actually paid only around $25. So basically check out the description and also use the extra coupons I'll leave there. So if you combine those together, you can also pick it up for maybe like $25 with free shipping. For this price, I think it's absolutely insane. So first, you can feel free to pause if you need the manual, if you have lost it. So again, simply pause wherever you need. But again, in this video, I'll simply show you also how to do everything. Okay. Also, when you get your machine, you are also getting a bunch of accessories with. First, your power lead, your foot, so you can actually operate it with a foot. Also, a bunch of bobbins, some spools, also a threader, even spare needles, and also this tool is for sewing buttons as well. So first, how do you actually power this thing? So on the back of it, I see you have actually two basically plugs over here. So this is where we insert essentially the foot pedal. So simply plug it in there, and then also plug in this power here in the second one there. Also, what's absolutely great about this machine, it can be powered using batteries as well. So if you maybe are traveling somewhere, want to take it with you, yeah, this is absolutely awesome. So if you insert the batteries, first make sure this switch is in the off position. So we also have two speeds, so the low and high as well. So again, make sure it's in off position before you insert the batteries. So you see, you can literally pop this off and insert the batteries inside here. So simply insert the 4 batteries, and then you can also run it from batteries. So absolutely awesome. By the way, if you actually decided to run it from the battery, the power actually will be slightly less than if you were to run it from wall. But again, for most tasks, it's still actually capable enough, even if you power it from the batteries. So first, maybe let's start with how to wind up bobbin, basically. So if you want to maybe put up basically different color on your bobbin, let me show you. By the way, when you get your machine, it will come with these tiny spools. So obviously do not have to actually use these tiny ones. You can use full-size spools as well on this machine, but then obviously simply do not attach the top. We do not really need that. So again, to wind up the bobbin, so you see on this machine, we have this tiny spindle here, and this is a bobbin wind up basically tool essentially. So you would take your bobbin, simply put it on here. Okay, push it on, and then we simply need to push it on the right side to engage the bobbin wind up mode. So you see, it takes a bit of force to basically push it there. Next, what we are going to do is we are simply going to take our thread here, and we need to basically loop it underneath here. So simply observe what I'm doing. So you see, I will simply get this thread underneath here. Okay, so you see, so simply under there, and this tiny thing actually wobbles around, and this it's also like spring loaded. So you see, we can kind of lift it up. So while lifting it up, basically we have to actually get our thread under it. So you see, it simply like loops under it. Okay, and then what we have to do is we simply have to take our thread end here, and basically from the inside we simply have to loop it out. So you see what I have done here. So from the bottom it simply goes out. Then I'm going to basically hold with one finger basically this thread end here, And basically with this wheel over here, I'm going to turn it on my direction, so counterclockwise. So I see while holding this, I'm simply like spinning it around like a few times. So it puts basically maybe like 3 or 4 layers, so it's secure. Then also I will take my scissors here. I'm going to snip off basically this end, otherwise it might bunch up. So you see. Next I simply need to power on my machine, so I'm going to use my foot basically. So the foot basically, and then basically once you give it power, it will start winding it up. So you see how it's actually winding itself up once I give it some power. Also, what you have to do is you have to take also scissors and put it underneath the thread here. As this actually doesn't, this machine can't actually like fill up evenly this bobbin, so we have to actually help a bit. So you see, I'm going to start it. Let's see what I'm doing. So you see, I was simply taking my scissors here, putting it underneath here, and like up and down basically to help basically even out the fill basically on the bobbin. So once you're satisfied, yeah, we can engage back to the normal mode, and then we can take off our filled up bobbin. So simply let's snip it off, and you see you have filled up your bobbin here. And next let me show you how to actually thread up the top part of this machine. And first make sure to actually put up your foot. If you actually do not do it, this tensioning disc inside actually won't properly grab the thread, and it might cause some problems in the future. So again, make sure your foot is actually placed up. Also, we have to actually get this arm up. So again, using this hand wheel over here, simply again turn it basically on your direction. So you see, we can lift up this arm here. Next, so you see the top basically till this is exactly the same as in the bobbin wind-up mode. So you see it goes underneath here, around this, like underneath there. So then next, simply let's take our thread here, and you see you have this like long slit over here. We simply have to take this thread here and place it inside this slit over here. So this is where the tensioning discs actually are inside, and here you have adjustments for the tension discs. By default, when you start using this machine, I suggest you to set it at 4, otherwise you will see some problems basically. So again, for most fabrics, again, number 4 or 3 is actually the best option. So you see on the bottom then we have to loop it underneath here. You see it also gives you kind of guide here. Next, so loop it up basically, and next we have to get it through this like arm here. So there is that hole. So you see, I'm simply going to push it through there. Okay, so you see it's through there. So then I see we're going to slide it through this here. Okay, and next we simply need to lower our arm here, so to get access to this part of the needle. So you see, I'm simply using this, and now I have access to, okay, so this one. And I'm going to feed my piece of thread through this tiny hole here. Okay, and then I'm going to actually get my needle up. So again, get up, and next we need to thread through the needle eye. Also, I suggest you to put your foot down so we have more access. Also, inside the box you have this tiny tool that can help us thread the needle. So you see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tool basically. You see, it has like a tiny frame, and we can push it through the eye of the needle here. So, and then we can essentially feed the thread very easily through there, through that. Okay, so feed it through, push it through, and then you see, if I'm taking it, pulling it out, it also pulls out my thread here. So you see, yeah, absolutely awesome. And then we have the top part done basically. And next, yeah, let me show you how to do the bottom part. So first take your bobbin and position the thread on this side, so on the left side, so it's like this. And then we're simply going to drop the bobbin inside this tiny compartment here. And make sure your bobbin thread makes a letter P. So you see, it's like this. So you see, also make sure you have maybe like 10 or 15 centimeters loose like this, and position exactly as I'm showing here. So over here, down basically on this machine. And next, what I'm going to do is basically with one hand, I'm going to actually hold this top basically thread. And with other hand, I'm actually going to turn basically this wheel here and going to basically like drop down the needle. And essentially the machine actually is going to pick up this white thread, essentially the bottom bobbin, and feed it through wherever needed. So you see, basically I'm going to basically turn this. It's going to lower the needle. Okay, so let me zoom in. So you see, yeah, basically I'm simply holding this a bit with tiny bit of pressure, not much, but still some. See what happens. Basically eventually I see this like blue thread start to come out here, and it's going to pick up this white thread, and it's taking that white thread, and you see it actually, yeah, brought it up there. So yeah, absolutely awesome. Next, we can simply take, for example, scissors, and you see, get both these threads out here. Okay, let me show you once more up close. So you see, I'm holding this. Again, make sure you're holding this, otherwise it won't work. Again, make sure it's making letter P, and I'm going to lower the needle and see what happens again. So you see, this like blue thread is essentially coming out now and picking up the white thread, and you see it's actually popping it up. So you see, I'm taking my scissors here again and pulling both threads out. So I suggest you, when you are sewing, simply leave your threads hanging either like this on the left side or maybe on the bottom, basically. So over here, probably this is the best place. Do not attempt to actually place them over here, otherwise they might actually bunch up. And then pretty much all done. So we can replace this cover here and start sewing. So when you're ready to sew, first we are going to need to select our stitch pattern. So you see you have 12 different patterns, but these aren't buttons. So the way to adjust the stitch pattern is using this thumb wheel. Also, before you adjust anything, make sure your needle is actually up, otherwise it might break the needle. So again, if it's not up, simply use this to bring up the needle. So you see, if I'm basically like turning this, also the needle kind of moves around in different position to basically prepare for the stitch. So these number 1, 2, 3, 4 are basic like stitches, so basically straight stitches. These 5 and 6 are specialty stitches that can be used to maybe like for your shirts or like jumper, like do like the ends, cuffs. So again, most likely you won't need these. These 7 and 8, 7 is for making basically the buttonholes in a fabric, and number 8 is for sewing the buttons basically. Yeah, again, probably won't need that much. And these 9, 10, 11, 12 is basically zigzags, so in different thickness and sizes. For example, on the top I have the number 9 zigzag, and on the bottom the number 12, so the largest one essentially. Also, obviously, if you use 2 different color threads on your machine, basically one side will be in one color and other side in the different color that you have. You see, actually the quality of the stitch actually is very decent, and they're also very strong when you actually sew with this machine. So yeah, when it comes to capability, I think this machine actually is absolutely wonderful. Also, this button over here is to make the machine basically sew in reverse essentially. So if you press and hold this, it will actually start to sew in reverse. But again, as you see, you have to actually hold it when you want to do it. And again, when you are just starting out, I suggest you to keep the tensioning at maybe like number 3 or 4. So if you feel that your stitches actually are very loose, so they're actually like very loose, or maybe like they're very like stiff, so they're prone to breaking, again, you might actually have to adjust the tensioning wheel to make it basically more tense or less tense essentially. Also on this machine over here, we even have a light as well, so obviously make sure to turn it on. So you see there's like hidden switch over here. And also we have a cutter here as well. So you see if I take basically my thread here, I can quickly cut it off as well. So yeah, absolutely awesome. So, and to start sewing, obviously make sure you are in the correct stitch pattern. Then lift up your foot, take your fabric that you want to sew, put it underneath there. So, and put down the foot over here. And then to start it, so you can either use these buttons, so the low speed or high speed, or also simply use your foot pedal. So you see, as soon as I'm going to press it, so this obviously sits on the ground and you're simply like pushing your feet on it. So you see what happens. Yeah, you see, if I engage it, obviously it starts to sew. And also using these buttons, I can also get it to start sewing. So you see in the low mode and also the high mode. So yeah, in the high mode, obviously it will sew much faster. And once you're done sewing, make sure your needle is actually up and then put up your feet. So if your needle is actually stuck basically in the fabric, so you can simply use your wheel basically to manually like lift up the needle. So, and then basically to get out, so simply take your fabric and slide it on the left side. So like this, so on the left side. Don't actually attempt to, for example, slide it like this or like on the back basically. So otherwise you might actually break the needle. So again, make sure to pull it only from right side to the left side. Otherwise, again, you might actually break or bend your needle here. So you see, then we can take this, use our cutter to cut it off, and you see you have basically very nice result here. So this essentially is what the number one stitch looks like. Again, I wasn't even holding the fabric, I was filming. So even with that, I see the quality actually looks impressive indeed. So again, yeah, when it comes to stitch quality, I'm actually very impressed in this machine overall. For this price, it's really performing like easily like 4 or 5 times better than it should. Also, maybe let's try out this number 3 as well. So this is kind of like more wide one. So let's see how it looks like. So again, simply put down your fabric here as you need it, drop it down. Okay, and then again, so again, either using your foot or again these buttons here. So yeah, also if you want to do it in reverse, you can also do that. So I'm going to actually use my foot here as it's more practical. So you see I'm starting now. So you see how it was going backwards. So this is very useful if you want to armor your stitches. And again, so let's put up our foot. Again, on the left side, from right to left. And let's cut it off. Okay, so you see, basically, this is what the number 3 looks like. So you see it's kind of like more wide. And we were going basically maybe like 4 times over here. So you see how it basically armors the stitch and goes back and forward. So yeah, when it comes to features, I think this machine for this price is totally loaded. Also on this machine over here, we have the compartment here where we can store all the bits and bobs, basically like the bobbins and all the loose bits over here. So when it comes to maintenance really, so I have been using it already for a couple of months already, and generally actually so far haven't really had any need basically to do anything on this. So the most important thing again is keeping eye on the tension of this machine, essentially making sure it's properly thread up. Also again, it's properly under here. So when it comes to negatives, I find that basically it likes to actually sometimes like pop out of this number 2. So if it's maybe like bunching up your thread, make sure to verify that you are actually threaded up like correctly. Sometimes it actually likes to pop out from over here, especially if you like manually basically do something on the machine. So sometimes, yeah, basically it likes to pop out from there. Apart from that, actually, yeah, very good machine. When it comes to more negatives, also I find that the power lead is extremely short on this thing. So if we check the length of it, literally maybe like half a meter only. So what the hell is this? So I wish they actually included like larger cable. You will probably need extension lead for this. So also, yeah, changing the needles as well is actually fairly straightforward. So if you ever need to do that, inside the box you also get even like 2 of these spare needles here. So these are standard like sewing machine needles here that uses, and you have this like tiny like knob here. So you see, you can simply take your fingers here, like twist it, and actually will release the needle. So, and then you can pop in new one. But again, so I have used it already for a couple of months already, still on the original needles. So yeah, so far I haven't had a need basically to do that. Also, obviously, when you are doing something on this machine, also make sure it's plugged out of the power. Also, if you want to remove the foot and change for something else, it's also quite easy. So you see, okay, so you see I can literally take this here. It will actually release the like foot over here. And to put back the feet, so you see as I lift it up, it also unlocks it, and I can put my feet back over here, and we are good to go. And yeah, definitely overall I think this sewing machine is very impressive indeed. Not only we get top of the line features on this sewing machine, also the build quality is actually fairly impressive. The stitch modes are actually very decent. So, and when you are sewing, the stitches also come out very secure, very strong, and yeah, for this price I think it's absolute bargain indeed. So again, if you want to get it for the cheapest price possible, simply check out the special discount links I'll leave in the description. So again, I got mine from AliExpress, and again, combined with those coupons I'll also leave in the description, I paid like around $25 for mine, and that also was with free shipping. I see these often also can be purchased on Amazon, for example, but I see they usually charge like $90 or maybe like $100 for these. So again, the actual price is literally like $25. So if you purchase directly, so again, I think this also was directly from the manufacturer who makes these machines for this price. Really, yeah, totally unbeatable. Anyway, good luck.